Hello, I am Silas. If you have found this letter tonight, you are probably tired of asking yourself the same question. What did I do wrong? You have replayed every conversation. You have analyzed every text message. You have wondered if you were too much or not enough. You have convinced yourself that if you had been quieter, softer, more patient, more understanding, he would have stayed. But tonight, I need you to hear something that might change everything. He did not leave because you were not enough. He left because he was not ready for you. The silence after someone walks away is unbearable. The bed feels colder. The phone stays quiet. You scroll through old pictures and wonder when everything shifted. You see him moving on while you are still stuck in the wreckage, trying to make sense of what happened. And the cruelest part is that you have turned all of that confusion inward. You have made yourself the villain in a story where you were actually the prize he could not carry. There is a weight you have been holding that was never yours to carry. You have been carrying the responsibility for his unreadiness, his immaturity, his inability to see what was standing right in front of him. You have been apologizing for being too whole in a space that required you to be broken, too healed in a connection that needed you to stay wounded, too ready in a relationship with someone who was still rehearsing. But here is what I need you to understand. When a man is ready, you will not have to convince him. When a man is ready, you will not have to audition for a role you were already cast for. When a man is ready, your value will not be up for debate. A man who is prepared to love you will not need you to shrink so he can feel bigger. He will not need you to dim your light so he can pretend to shine. He will not punish you for being everything he asked God for, but was not mature enough to steward. You did not lose him because you were lacking. You lost him because he was. And I know that sounds harsh, but it is also freedom. Because as long as you keep searching for your flaw in his departure, you will miss the grace in his exit. There is a moment in the book of Ruth that most people skip over. Ruth had already lost her husband. She was a widow in a foreign land with no security and no future. And yet she stayed loyal to Naomi. She worked in the fields. She kept going when everything in her life had fallen apart. And then Boaz saw her. But notice this. Boaz did not see Ruth because she was performing or pretending or trying to get his attention. He saw her because he was ready to see her. He was a man of character who recognized a woman of worth. He did not make her beg for his affection. He did not leave her guessing. He covered her. He protected her. He pursued her with intention because he was ready. And that is the difference. Boaz was not intimidated by Ruth's strength. He was not afraid of her story. He did not need her to be less so he could be more. He was ready. And because he was ready, Ruth did not have to twist herself into something unrecognizable just to be chosen. The man who left you was not Boaz. He was still a boy trying to figure out who he was. And you cannot build a future with someone who is still constructing themselves. You cannot pour into someone who has not yet decided to stop leaking. You cannot love someone into readiness. That is not your job. That is between him and God. And I know you wanted to be the one who changed him. You thought your love would be enough to make him grow up. You thought your patience would eventually be rewarded. But love is not a rehabilitation center. You are not an audition. You are not a practice round for the woman he will eventually become ready for. You are the real thing. And the real thing requires a real man. Let me tell you something about how men operate. A man knows within weeks whether he sees a future with you. He knows if he wants to build with you or just pass time. He knows if you are the one, or if you are the one for right now. And if he is treating you like an option, it is not because you have not proven yourself. It is because he has not decided to step up. And that is on him, not you. A godly man does not make you question where you stand. He does not play games with your heart while he figures out what he wants. He does not keep you in limbo while he explores other options. A man who is serious about you will make it clear. His actions will match his words. His consistency will give you peace. And if that is not what you are experiencing, then you are not dealing with a man who is ready. You are dealing with a man who is still deciding. And daughter of the king, you do not wait for someone to decide if you are worth choosing. You are already chosen by the one who matters most. God did not call you to beg for breadcrumbs from a man who should have been offering you a feast. He did not design you to compete for attention that should have been freely given. He did not build you to settle for confusion when you were created for clarity. And sometimes the mercy of God looks like removal. Sometimes his protection feels like rejection. Sometimes the man you thought you lost was actually the man God removed before he could waste more of your time. You think you are mourning a relationship, but what you are actually mourning is the version of him you created in your head. The version that was going to grow. The version that was going to change. The version that was going to finally see you. But that version does not exist. And holding on to who he could have been is keeping you from seeing who he actually is. A man who was not ready. A man who walked away. A man who, by his own choice, disqualified himself from your future. So stop rewriting history to make him the hero. Stop editing out his flaws so you can keep romanticizing what you had. What you had was real, but it was also unfinished. And you cannot force someone to finish what they are not ready to start. There is a season coming where you will look back on this moment and thank God that he left. You will see with clarity what you could not see through tears. You will realize that his exit was not your loss. It was your rescue. Because had he stayed, you would have kept trying to make it work. You would have kept sacrificing pieces of yourself to keep him comfortable. You would have kept lowering your standards to match his effort. And eventually you would have looked up and not recognized the woman staring back at you in the mirror. God loved you too much to let that happen. So he let him walk, and I know it hurts. I know it feels unfair. But one day you will meet the man who is ready. The man who does not need to be convinced of your worth. The man who sees you and says, finally. And when that day comes, you will understand why everyone else had to go. You are not too much. You are not too strong. You are not too healed or too whole or too sure of who you are. You are exactly what a prepared man is praying for. And the fact that an unprepared man could not handle you is not your failure. It is his. So release him. Not with bitterness, but with grace. Not with anger, but with peace. Release the question of what you did wrong, because you did nothing wrong. Release the need to understand why he left, because his reasons do not define you. Release the version of him you loved, and make space for the man God is preparing who will be ready to love you back. You were never the problem. You were the standard he was not ready to meet. Sincerely, Silas.